This is the Northwest Michigan market report for the first quarter of 2015. And overall, the market is sort of what we expected it to be, and that the first quarter numbers were actually quite strong, but we expected them to be strong because we're comparing, although the winter wasn't easy this winter, the first 3 months of 15, it was a lot better in terms of people being able to get out and active compared to last winter. So we expected a big jump in business, and we did see that, particularly in March. Inventories were up and sales were up. Now, sales were up more than new listings entering the market, which means the actual inventory, number of homes available for sale, actually in most price categories went down, at least in the under $500,000 market, they actually went down. So what that tells us is that for most buyers, and most of the market for Northwest Michigan is under $500,000 market, most of those buyers are going to see this spring a pretty tight inventory. Now, it may be that the inventory jumps up this month in April and May and sort of catches up. But again, based on current buyer demand, which we think is as strong as last year, and listing inventory, which is the same or slightly less in most areas than last year, we expect it to be a pretty strong spring. Probably still see multiple offers like we saw last year, maybe not as wild in all price ranges, but we'll go county by county in a minute. You'll see that in some markets the inventories have shrunk quite a bit, which is a really good thing for some of those markets. But if you look at start with the upper end market, the over $500,000 market, and that's across all 5 counties, Kalkaska, Antrim, Leelanau, Bel Air, and Grand Traverse and Benzie, and all those markets, the above $500,000 and the waterfront luxury markets all sort of act the same in all those markets. And for the most part, that's the market that's settled the most into sort of a normal market. It was the first to recover back 18 months, 2 years ago, and it's sort of the first to settle. So inventories are up in that price range. Prices jumped as well, but not as much as other price ranges. They've sort of settled to the 3 to 4% increase price range. And the number of new listings coming to the market have jumped quite a bit as well. Now, sales did too in March, new contracts written, and a little bit in February. But we expect with that inventory jump that the market will be a little bit softer for the luxury market coming, particularly waterfront luxury, going into the spring. In general, if we were to give sort of a general number, we think the luxury market, waterfront luxury, is probably overpriced right now, and probably 8 to 10%, maybe as much as 12%, because the pricing in many cases was based on the activity last spring, which is pretty dramatic, and prices just sort of got a little bit out of line. So we think that you'll find, if you are a seller in the luxury range, particularly waterfront, that you can expect showings to be more in terms of weekly showings versus daily showings, which you might have seen last spring, and offers more in terms of monthly offers or even occasionally every other month offers versus weekly offers that you might have seen peak activity spring and summer of last year. The rest of the markets, if you look at the rest of the counties, in the under $500,000, in each case, in each county, it's under $500,000 market. Start with Grand Traverse, and the inventories are tight there and under $500,000. So we'll see, different from the luxury market, we'll see some pretty strong activity, multiple offers, probably as much as we did last spring. And in general, values probably jumping 6 to 8%, which is more than we would have expected this year, but the activity and demand is pretty strong. Going to Benzie County, actually similar in terms of the market that's under $500,000, so the majority of the market for Benzie. Again, inventories are a little bit tighter, and sales are up a little bit, so we expect it to walk and talk, maybe not quite as extreme as Grand Traverse, because there just isn't as much activity in Benzie, but we'll see this following the same trends. In Leelanau County, interestingly enough, values sort of were flat there, which was sort of interesting, and I'm not really sure why, other than in Leelanau County, the upper end market does sort of dominate a lot of the sales in the county, but I expect that inventories are also shrinking in the under $500,000 market there as well, so I expect values to jump this spring there maybe as a catch-up. In both Antrim and Kalkaska, both of those followed similar trends in that we had sort of excess inventory, at least a feeling like the inventory was a little ahead of buyer demand through most of last year in both those counties. And the first quarter this year, inventories are down quite a bit in both of those markets, which is a good thing. So to absorb some of that excess demand, therefore allowing prices to start to rise in both those counties. We know demand is pretty strong. Activity, again, was very strong, particularly in March for new contracts written. But again, some of that was, again, weather-related, comparing a really tough February, March last year in terms of weather to a more reasonable March this year. So we had expected sales to be up. But they're also up over March of 13, which was more of a normal March weather-wise. So we think that there are some good things going on in those in both Antrim and Kalkaska counties as well. Overall, we see that going into spring, regardless of price ranges, we're going to spring with good, from a historical standpoint, good buyer demand. We're going to the market, again, historically with low inventories. So although it will change whether you're in a specific county or specific price range, it may not feel as strong as last year. But going back a number of years to what you'd expect sort of for a normal market, the demand is stronger and more active, so we do anticipate a pretty good market. Just from a seller standpoint, be aware that values may not be rising quite as fast as they have been rising. From a buyer standpoint, particularly for those homes that are really nicely priced and in good condition, they're still going to go really fast. So buyers need to be willing to move fast, and that even includes the upper end, that great home, high-end home on a lake or on Lake Michigan. You're still going to have some real activity, and those things go quickly. So overall, good market. We're looking forward to a great spring. Thanks.